Okay, so here's the deal. I watched some Leo Santa Cruz last night, and I tried to get in some Javante Tank Davis. So I want to do a little bit of a breakdown, and I'm gonna go ahead and just execute my fight prediction. You know what I'm saying? Instead of dragging this thing on out. But I watched Leo Santa Cruz a couple of fights. The Abner Mares fight. I watched that the other night. Um, I watched the Riviera fight. Um, I watched both Abner Mares fights. The only fight I haven't watched that I want to see is the Carl Frampton loss and then the Carl Frampton victory. You know what I'm saying? I want to see that adjustment that he made. Um, then for Javante Tank Davis, um, I got in some highlights and I watched some Yoriokas Gamboa and then I watched him fight Avila. I screw his first name up, Guillermo Alvila. Um, but I've been kind of keeping up with Tank since he hit the scene, so I've been watching him kind of progress. I got to go back and do my due diligence with Leo Santa Cruz. So I'm looking at this stigma of Leo Santa Cruz being labeled like as a duck artist, because he instead of fighting Rigondeaux, instead of fighting Gary Russell Jr., it seems like he opted out. You know what I'm saying? And he chose to move out of the weight class instead of fight those fighters. Now we all know that Gary Russell Jr. was campaigning hard to make that fight with Leo Santa Cruz, and he even went up to Leo Santa Cruz's father, who was sick with cancer. Matter of fact, I couldn't tell if it was his father or grandfather at the time, but go back and look through my archives, and I see it was his father who was sick with cancer, and he put his, speaking on Gary Russell Jr. a little bit, he put his hands around his dad like that, and you know what I'm saying, touched his chains and let him know, you know what I'm saying, that I could touch just how close I can get to your people. And some people thought that that was weak on behalf of Gary Russell Jr. But so I'm gonna digress because I don't want to go into the whole Gary Russell Jr. situation. Not right now, not for this video. But Teofimo Lopez, on the flip side of Gary Russell kind of coming off as weak, on the flip side, Leo Santa Cruz also kind of came off as dodging and ducking Gary Russell Jr. because a lot of people, a lot of fans felt like that crossed the line, and you put your hands on my blood, on my family, then we got to handle this. You know what I'm saying? You have to see me. And he opted out. I think he kind of was like, that was just more of, you know what I'm saying, an act. And it was for show. And I'm not going to take it too seriously. You know what I'm saying? Now, I can't judge Leo Santa Cruz and try to put myself in his shoes and things like that. You know what I'm saying? I just can't do that. As far as nobody would, when my father was alive, nobody would walk up to my father and disrespect him. I wouldn't have to do nothing. My father would have been able to handle his own business. So I digress. Um, Nevertheless, I don't want to say Leo Santa Cruz is a duck artist because I'm trying to figure out if he's a duck artist. Uh, Opting out of fighting Rigondeaux and opting out of fighting Gary Russell Jr. I feel like Gary Russell Jr. would have beat Leo Santa Cruz, but Gary Russell Jr., just like he was saying in this whole situation with trying to fight these guys and these guys ducking him, he's like he's like, what I'm saying, no disrespect, but uh, when I'm gonna win, I'm gonna dog you, but I'm a also finesse you. You know what I'm saying? My little brother, man. he just gonna bowl you over. Which is to say, look, at least if Leo Santa Cruz would have fought um, Gary Russell Jr., I think he would have took an L, but he would have got finessed. You know what I'm saying? Gary Russell Jr. would have put on a show. So for Leo Santa Cruz not to fight Gary Russell Jr., but to fight Gervonta Tank Davis, I don't know if this is just that golden parachute because you know uh, Gervonta Tank Davis is the cash cow of boxing right now in that division, or if Leo Santa Cruz is really just that warrior, that dog, and he got a bad stigma attached to him based off some business decisions that he made, where he said, "I'm going to go another route" versus being forced in to fight who people want me to fight. Nevertheless, also, I believe his father did pass away. You know what I'm saying? And he said that he felt like his father always told him that he could beat Gervonta Tank Davis, so he wants that fight. I also watched the interview, which really didn't explain much, where they asked Leo Santa Cruz about ducking Gary Russell Jr. and uh, Rigondeaux and Tank, and he didn't really say much from what I could see. Just I want to fight these guys, but I can't make I'm saying, everybody that's involved, the managers and promoters and people that arrange and put the fights together. I can't I can't make them make the fights I want. That's pretty much all he said from what I heard. You know what I mean? So either way, right now you got Leo Santa Cruz and Gervonta Tank Davis scheduled to fight. They fighting for the 130-pound belt and 135-pound belt, right? I hear like I was watching Angel Garcia fight prediction. He was kind of nonchalant. He said, "Oh, if it's at 130, it's Leo Santa Cruz. If it's at 135, it's going to go to Tank Davis." So I'm watching as much Leo Santa Cruz as I can to see what it is that he's bringing to the table versus Gervonta Tank Davis, and I just don't see it. I don't see what Leo Santa Cruz has that's going to keep Gervonta Tank Davis off of him. He's a good fighter. He's a pressure fighter. He's decent on his back foot. I think he does make adjustments. He does have that little twitch thing, and he has a telltale sign, like when Ben Davis was kind of was telling every fighter has a telltale sign, kind of like poker, and he was kind of outing Tyson Fury for that little Dougie Fresh joint he does when he's resetting. Teofimo Lopez has a weird little twitch where he literally twitches that hand and brushes off his shorts, and it's kind of like a reset thing. But for the most part, I think he has a really solid, tight defense. He keeps his guard pretty high, keeps the earmuffs on, and he he can moderate. He goes at him. This is what I'm looking at from him. He fights continuously, all 12 rounds at the same pace, and it's not. It's a moderate pace. It's like a long distance runner's pace. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't see him ever really pressing his foot down on the gas and accelerating. Some people say that Gervonta Tank Davis is like a sports car, and you know what I'm saying. He goes 0 to 100, and then some people has said that Gervonta Tank Davis sometimes gasses out. I have not seen that. What I see from Gervonta Tank Davis is that he's on another level. That is a that is a mean dude. That dude is mean. He is a pit bull. He is a little pit bull, and he is a vicious little dude. Period. He is a mean, vicious dude, and he's genetically on another level. Um, I'm an echo. He knows his sports. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you took a Roy Jones Jr., you took a little Mike Tyson, and you put a little Floyd Money Mayweather, and you shake it up, and you get into Gervonta Tank Davis. You know what I'm saying? And like I'm watching Gervonta Tank Davis, and that's why I think I could see where Antonio Tarver, as he's watching um, Gervonta Tank Davis develop his craft, he was very critical on some of the fundamental things that Gervonta Tank Davis wasn't implementing in some of his fights. Just relying on his power, being explosive, being um, going off of your reflexes, but not using that jab and setting things up. You know what I'm saying? Just throwing all power shots and not letting your shots fly off naturally. Because when you do that, the power comes naturally and you hurting people naturally. So I seen, Antonio Tarver, I think he's looking at that and he's seeing that Roy Jones Jr. side of him, and he knows that that can be exploited if it's not corrected down the line. Like when you fighting guys that you can get rid of with that power, you're going to be effective. But as soon as you come across that one guy that's fundamentally sound and tough and has grit, it's going to be a problem, a la Roy Jones Jr. versus Antonio Tarver, and he sees that. So he's saying, look, this kid still needs to develop and add these skills to his repertoire. And I seen Gervonta Tank Davis add those skills to his repertoire, fighting like a Gamboa, a Yoriokas Gamboa, maybe long in the tooth, but also experienced, and forced Gervonta Tank Davis to fight smart and to reserve and not to, empty out his gas tank. Now, going back to what I'm saying about Gervonta Tank Davis, where people say he gasses out, I think what it is his acceleration when he's going over 100 miles an hour, when he starts to decelerate back down to the normal, 60, 70 miles an hour, it looks like he's running out of gas. But him going at a moderate pace is usually what some people like a Leo Santa Cruz, that's their optimal. I don't see Leo Santa Cruz being able to accelerate and even push past Gervonta Tanks Davis, deceleration. It's like a sports car versus you know, like a Buick or a Lincoln. You know what I'm saying? Like a Lincoln can cruise and it's a good highway. You get on the highway and you can cruise, and you know what I'm saying? Or it's like a Ford Fusion versus a damn Mustang or something like that. Which Tank would be the damn Mustang. You know what I'm saying? Shelby, and and Leo Santa Cruz would be a Ford Fusion. So I don't see in Leo Sanders' crew. I don't see in his resume. I'm going back and trying to do all my due diligence. I don't see him facing a opponent that's prepared him for the kind of power that Gervonta Tank Davis has. Every fighter I've saw Leo Santa Cruz fight just has had like moderate power, not nowhere near as explosive, dangerous, and vicious as Gervonta Tank Davis. Um, and I don't see anything in Leo Santa Cruz's arsenal that's going to make Gervonta Tank Davis be exposed, because I can see the type of style that would beat Gervonta Tank Davis, a la Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson, a la Antonio Tarver versus Roy Jones Jr. It's going to take somebody that's very strong, fundamental, and knows how to nullify Gervonta Tank Davis. Um, like a Devin Haney, if Devin Haney really, really, really completes his craft. Like right now, Devin Haney, I don't think if Gervonta Tank Davis versus Devin Haney was to happen now, I would lean towards Gervonta Tank Davis, honestly. And Devin Haney, and that's saying a lot, because Devin Haney is close to being a complete fighter, but I think he's still missing a few key ingredients, or those ingredients haven't totally seasoned and you know what I'm saying, totally matured yet in him. So when I look at, and like they say, I don't think that fight is going to ever happen anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because Gervonta Tank Davis is going by the Floyd Money Mayweather green print or blueprint, or however you want to look at it. Let me say this: Gervonta Tank Davis um, would have to be someone that could exploit the fact that they can come in and fight him like a Bernard Hopkins, make it a boring fight, jab, 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 hold. and you had to hold Gervonta Tank Davis, lock up his arms, and get him to where most of the fight is nullified, where he builds up a lot of that lactic acid in his muscles and shoulders and arms, to where his punches start to tighten up. Sort of like Kell Brooks against Sean Porter, how Kell Brooks did a lot of holding as a strategy just to neutralize Sean Porter. Gervonta Tank Davis would have to be picked apart somewhat like that, like a Bernard Hopkins type of style would beat, because of the experience of Bernard Hopkins. That style, very boring. He'll bait you in, shoot in a few straight clean shots, get those points, and then wrap you up and steal rounds. A style like that, if Devin Haney could take a style like that of a Bernard Hopkins, then take everything he's learned from Floyd Money Mayweather with that real good pull counter, with that shoulder roll, and as sharp as he is, plus I think Devin Haney would still need a little bit um, more of a chip on his shoulder and a little bit more killer instinct and just a little bit more experience, and his mentality still has to be more veteranized to handle a Gervonta Tank Davis. I just think right now Devin Haney is not at his prime, and if he was to fight Gervonta Tank Davis just has too much of a killer instinct and a chip on his shoulder. And I mean, it can go either way. Don't get it twisted. It can go either way. But I would lean towards Gervonta Tank Davis in that hypothetical fantasy fight. In this Leo Santa Cruz fight against Gervonta Tank Davis, I just don't see it. Maybe Leo Santa Cruz is going to do something that completely, it's okay. He's going to do something that surprises and shocks the world, or shocks me at least. I see a few people leaning slightly towards Leo Santa Cruz if it goes the distance. I can see that fight going the distance and still going to Gervonta Tank Davis. But from what I see with Leo Santa Cruz with his earmuffs on, Gervonta Tank Davis breaks down his body. Leo Santa Cruz starts to bring his guards down. Gervonta Tank Davis starts throwing to the damn top. Starts, you know what I'm saying, putting together punches from the bottom to the top and breaking Leo Santa Cruz down within 9 rounds. That's what I see. I see a technical knockout or a KO stoppage by 9 rounds. You know what I'm saying? That's what I see. I see Gervonta Tank Davis breaking down Leo Santa Cruz between 6 and 9 rounds. And if it goes the distance, I still see. If it goes the distance, I see like a 117, 111 type of fight. I don't see Leo Santa Cruz being able to pull that fight out with a decision or with the I just don't see Leo Santa Cruz, the style that he has. I gotta do my due. I'm gonna keep. If I look at something and it tells me otherwise, I'll come back and make the adjustments in my prediction. But right now, my prediction is a knockout by the 9th round from Gervonta Tank Davis. So that's all I got. I appreciate y'all time. If y'all made it this far, man, I salute you. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up button. Leave me a comment and holla back at your man's Nocturnal Thoughts. I'm out. Salute.